Meet the Lavalier II. The Lavalier II is a premium lavalier microphone that offers incredible sound quality in a revolutionary form factor that is ideal for the most demanding audio and video applications.
Okay, memes aside, today we're looking at the Rode Lavalier II, which is Rode's newest premium lavalier offering for consumer and prosumer wireless audio systems, including the Rode Wireless Go 2. Now, I've been on an audio kick lately, thanks Curtis Judd, but the reason I purchased these lavalier microphones is that as a user of the Rode Wireless Go 2 system, I can tell you for a fact that these have some of the most finicky transmitter mic inputs I've ever come across. And while there are plenty of other reviews on YouTube on cheaper third-party microphones, I did want to see for myself what Rode's luxurious first-party lav solutions looked and sounded like, especially with this fairly unique, flat, one-sided, omnidirectional style capsule. So, let's get into it. And yes, I will have everything time-stamped because this is going to be a characteristically long review. I mean, you're looking at another piece of filmmaking equipment instead of going outside and touching some grass. Do you really have anything better to do right now?
New plants, new jobs, and a vast array of new products which contribute to the safety, comfort, and the beauty of our daily lives.
So, what do you get for the current $99 USD price tag? The Lavalier II comes with a relatively nice soft shell carrying case that seems quite sturdy with only a slight bit of flex. Inside the mesh dividers on each side of the case, you'll find the lavalier with its warranty card, accessories in a tiny filmmaking coat bag, and a very strange humble brag warning users not to strangle people with their lavalier cables because of the Kevlar construction. Now, I'm not too sure if this was the most positive way of bringing up a marketing point, or if the cable has Kevlar shielded or parallel Kevlar fiber runs inside, but I'm sure it's a nice feature nonetheless, since Kevlar fabric and cordage are known for their durability and bullet stopping potential. Well, probably not bulletproof in this quantity. But before we go too deep into this mic's build, I want to talk about the unique accessories that the Lav 2 comes with first, because let's throw Rode a bone on this one. They have quite a robust accessory system built for the Wireless Go systems, including this microphone, and they're giving us quite a taste from their top shelf. But is it enough to make us addicts? Now, Rode has touted their new low-profile lavalier clip mount design, and I can confirm it's much smaller and slimmer than most traditional lavalier hook or spring mounts out there, if that counts for anything. I tend not to worry about this kind of thing myself, since I often prefer to sticky mount my microphones directly to my talent's body if I'm going to try to hide the mic. But I'm glad they took the opportunity to do something new with this mount, especially since you have to rely on this proprietary shape because of the unique form factor of the microphone capsule, where mounting has to be done from the upper half of the cable relief on the microphone capsule. Well, I promise this wasn't planned, but during recording, this thing snapped its plastic on one side of the mic retention clip, which seems to be a smaller gauge metal wrapped in a soft rubber coating. You can even see it giving way in some of the B-roll clips. Well, it's something to consider after I just talked about the issues with the proprietary mounts, and it's time to test out Rode's product warranty with those nifty little warranty cards I mentioned earlier. I mean, I read them. It says it's 1 year, so it's not the best warranty, but it's at least something. So depending on how long this takes, this review might be delayed, but not by me this time. I'll keep you posted. Well, moving on from that disappointment, there's only a small amount of teeth on this clip compared to the more traditional lav clips. However, the clamp spacing inside the mount does do a very good job of finding the back of the hem of your fabric and keeping the mount locked in place. I've seen some complaints out there about the lack of grip on the capsule compared to, rounder mic heads because of the odd twist lock tension system, and I haven't personally run into those issues. Okay, well, until it snapped, and now I can see where someone might have an issue with the retention, but it does an alright job holding onto the capsule even in a compromised state. Well, other than that, let's just move on to the rest of the design at the very least, including the broadcast loop hook around the back of the mount, which adds extra cable relief and mounting pressure thanks to the thin rubber-coated cable design, as well as cutting down on some of the cable interference noise without having to knot your cable around itself or pinching it in the main clip, where one would traditionally have to do for a broadcast loop without a dedicated hook on the back, which is usually lacking on cheaper lavalier microphone mounts. As a final thought about this mount, Rode's marketing team has hammered on and on about how discreet this mount is, but I do think they've shot themselves on the foot with this one by lasering their logo into exposed shiny metal on a matte black surface, which will most likely force users to deface the Rode logo with a black marker or paint pen if they're using this mount primarily and want to take the advantages of the discreet nature of this design. Okay, well, after the issues I was having with this mount, I think they shot out their only other foot to stand on and need to go back to the drawing board on this design, at least in terms of the soft rubber-coated capsule hooks for it to work reliably, regardless of how innovative it is. I'll also add the note that I cannot get these clips from Rode unless I go through their warranty department at the time of filming, so there's yet another negative to consider, and something Rode really needs to at least add to their first-party web store. As for the rest of the accessories in this kit, you do get a very nice foam and thick fur cover for the microphone capsule, and the covers are, again, proprietary in shape to fit the unique capsule, meaning that you'll most likely have to go to Rode's web store to get replacements if they get lost. But the square, hard plastic lining at the bottom of the covers does add a bit more grip than traditional soft elastic would, and there's a small plastic capsule cage inside of each cover, which will help reduce on some of the rubbing noises across the capsule and the cover materials. Personally, the only real gripe I have about these covers is that they are quite large and very non-discreet, which kind of defeats the purpose of a slimmer form factor of the capsule design. I mean, in my mind, especially with a double-sided protection on a one-sided structure, but I do also appreciate the consideration to the internal structure of the covers, reducing unwanted noises with the additional grip of the capsule and the added rigidity, so I'm a bit conflicted on this one. Rode has also included a nice, although somewhat gimmicky, quick color identification system for their lavaliers, where you can choose from 5 separate color rings, including plain black that you can slip around your 3.5mm mic input, which you don't see on many other devices out there other than some other Rode products like their headphones or the Tentacle Track E system.
The optic axis is found by locating certain bands of color which are formed when the quartz is examined in polarized light.
Now, starting from the 3.5mm input and working our way up the mic, let's talk about build quality. Now, the 3.5mm input does have a trick up its sleeve where you can fully remove the locking ring from the 3.5mm input, greatly increasing its compatibility across consumer and prosumer devices, especially when it comes to the Rode's own Wireless Go offering, which lacks locking connectors. Now, while it's slightly wider and predominantly plastic, this is a solid feeling connector that's slightly shorter than most other cables, leaving more room for its intricately decorated bend relief at the beginning of the cable. Now, I would be interested to see how this bend relief holds up to heavy usage, since this is where a lot of my other lavaliers, like my Sennheiser ME2s, first start giving out, and the small patterning across the strain relief has me a bit worried about that longevity. Well, here's the cable bend relief compared to my Zoom lavalier cables, which are slightly less intricate and thicker, but equally as flexible, so you can kind of see what I'm talking about here. We already touched on this a bit, but the cable itself is something to note. This is an extremely flat and well-made 111mm long cable with a quality filling rubber coating on the outside of it, and we assume some sort of Kevlar somewhere inside. Now, this is another area of internal conflict for me, coming from an audiophile background. These sorts of softer rubber cables are known to catch on clothes and skin, causing extra and unwanted cable noise as well as general discomfort on some bare skin. But to be fair, I can only make the cable noise extremely present while purposely running my fingers across a straightened cable. Now, it's not an issue when you're using a broadcast loop or other forms of cable relief. You just have to keep cable relief in mind when using these lavaliers, and it will rob some of the usable cable length, as well as some new content creators out there might not be aware of putting the extra effort into doing this every time they mount their lavaliers. And here's a quick test so you can see what I mean. Finally, we have the piece de resistance of this microphone build, its flat-mounted microphone capsule design. In an interesting but not unexpected move, they decide to go with a full plastic housing, which feels similar to the plastic that you would find on the 3.5mm jack. Now, this doesn't feel like a cheap plastic per se, and I suppose it would be fairly cost prohibitive to get this pleasant, softer, rounded shape of this capsule using aluminum construction. But in a market where even the cheapest microphones have a metal housing, it's a bit concerning longevity-wise. I have to say, I do quite enjoy the shape of these, and it seems to work well on both skin mounts and using regular clip mounts when not broken, without sharp edges or bulky housing designs that get in the way of loose clothing or stick out too much on camera. Now, Rode might have gone a little overboard calling these revolutionary microphone designs. We've already seen this capsule design both in the Countryman EMW and DPA 4160. I mean, sorry, but it's true. This being said, it's still a unique design, and it's not seen in many lavaliers, and I'm glad Rode decided to bring this flat form factor down to the consumer market at a lower price point than its Countryman cousin twice removed. And that brings up a good point. How do we hide microphones? Rode? Well, today I'm going to show you folks one of the most common ways to discreetly hide a lavalier microphone, and what leads to my biggest issue with the capsule and the build quality of this microphone with my two friends, Ursa Circles and Top Stick. For professionals who've been doing discreet lavalier miking before, this crude demonstration might not be anything new and poorly done. But this is a popular way to completely hide lavaliers from camera coverage using two products from Ursa, sticky circles and soft circle covers. This is a very common process for going the traditional hard to completely conceal lavalier mounts, and involves placing your microphone on top of a double-sided Ursa sticky circle and covering it with either a soft plush or fur Ursa circle to completely create a sealed environment for the microphone to live in, as it is discreetly mounted under the talent's clothes using an area of skin-safe tape like Top Stick to create cable runs and relief. So what's the problem with the Rode Lavalier II? Wouldn't it be even easier to hide with its low one-sided profile? Well, here comes the rub. If you're looking at the back of the Lavalier II mic capsule housing, you'll find a large plastic plug that takes up most of the rear surface area. Now, I know it's intended to seal the microphone capsule after assembly. However, the only way I figured this out because the glue seal has broken on the back of both of my units multiple times while trying to remove Ursa sticky circles after filming. This is a problem since the rear plug is so big to accommodate the 6mm capsule. It's the only way to mount the sticky layer of the Ursa sticky circles, and if you don't remove the circle extremely slowly and carefully, this temporary yet strong hold of the Ursas will overcome the thin gummy CA glue on the back of the plug, ripping it free and exposing the rear microphone capsule along with the thin, delicate bare wiring leads. Now, I'm sorry, Rode, but you really get no points for this one. Not even in the defense of a unintended use case. This is an extremely common way to mic people, and it just seems like a complete oversight for something that you're trying to market as a product ideal for the most demanding audio and video applications, and not considering wider professional film audio techniques. I mean, luckily for me, I can't repeat this issue on camera today since it was easily fixed with a little bit of top stick cut to the size of the plug and a bit of patience removing the old glue and creating a new, stronger seal. Easy to fix, yes, but it's still a fix that did not need to exist on this product, and I don't know how much extra strain this might cause on the solder joints between the wires and the back of the capsule if they're attached to the back of the plug with that top stick as well.
Every kind of progress has a beginning, a starting point, and then someone has to move ahead and take the step that might make tomorrow better.
Okay, now that we've gotten Rode's biggest build-related spankings out of the way, let's move on to probably the most important part of a microphone, how the f***ing thing sounds. Even though I've been using this microphone throughout the review, we'll be testing it mounted inside of clothing, outside of clothing, using the included mount, shielded and unshielded, as well as in sound-treated and untreated interior and exterior environments so you can see the microphone's performance and sound for yourself, using one of my favorite quotes which sums up the absolute logical height of most Facebook users. We have our line 2 mic going from my lapel into transmitter 2, and we're going to be doing it one with a bare cover, one with the smaller foam cover, and one with the bigger fur cover. On line 1, I actually have it Ursa mounted using just a soft circle running into the transmitter 1. So we're going to go through all these audio tests, starting out with this soundstage. This is going to be set up like most people's YouTube environments. It's slightly treated, but you can still hear it's got a bit of echo going on. And yeah, I just dropped that. You're not paying for this anyway. Jeff Bezos has $121 billion. The population of Earth is 7 billion people. He could give every person $1 billion and end poverty, and he would still have $114 billion left over, but the bald bastard won't do it. This is what capitalist greed looks like. Jeff Bezos has $121 billion. The population of Earth is 7 billion people. He could give every person $1 billion and end poverty, and he would still have $114 billion left over, but the bald bastard won't do it. This is what capitalist greed looks like. Jeff Bezos has $121 billion. The population of Earth is 7 billion people. He could give every person $1 billion and end poverty, and he would still have $114 billion left over. But the bald bastard won't do it. This is what capitalist greed looks like. Jeff Bezos has $121 billion. The population of Earth is 7 billion people. He could give every person $1 billion and end poverty, and he would still have $114 billion left over, but the bald bastard won't do it. This is what capitalist greed looks like. Jeff Bezos has $121 billion. The population of Earth is 7 billion people. He could give every person $1 billion and end poverty, and he would still have $114 billion left over, but the bald bastard won't do it. This is what capitalist greed looks like. Jeff Bezos has $121 billion. The population of Earth is 7 billion people. He could give every person $1 billion and end poverty, and he would still have $114 billion left over, but the bald bastard won't do it. This is what capitalist greed looks like. Jeff Bezos has $121 billion. The population of Earth is 7 billion people. He could give every person $1 billion and end poverty, and he would still have $114 billion left over, but the bald bastard won't do it. This is what capitalist greed looks like. Jeff Bezos has $121 billion. The population of Earth is 7 billion people. He could give every person $1 billion and end poverty, and he would still have $114 billion left over, but the bald bastard won't do it. This is what capitalist greed looks like. Jeff Bezos has $121 billion. The population of Earth is 7 billion people. He could give every person $1 billion and end poverty, and he would still have $114 billion left over, but the bald bastard won't do it. This is what capitalist greed looks like. Jeff Bezos has $121 billion. The population of Earth is 7 billion people. He could give every person $1 billion and end poverty, and he would still have $114 billion left over, but the bald bastard won't do it. This is what capitalist greed looks like. Jeff Bezos has $121 billion. The population of Earth is 7 billion people. He could give every person $1 billion and end poverty, and he would still have $114 billion left over, but the bald bastard won't do it. This is what capitalist greed looks like. Jeff Bezos has $121 billion. The population of Earth is 7 billion people. He could give every person $1 billion and end poverty, and he would still have $114 billion left over, but the bald bastard won't do it. This is what capitalist greed looks like.
Oh, what an exciting world. Satellites, waveguides, lasers, magnetic bubbles, fiber optics, picture phones someday.
Okay. Now that we're back from all the audio testing, what about Rode's warranty? Rode was able to replace the clip under warranty, and they did offer to RMA the lavaliers, but that would involve sending these lavaliers away, waiting for evaluation, and then either having them repaired or fully replaced. To be fair, their customer service was quite lovely and responsive, and we managed to get the replacement agreement within 3 days and a new clip within 4 days' time. I did also politely push the question on if the seal issue was common in these units while using Ursa or Rycote sticky mounts, and I got met with the, it definitely wouldn't be a common issue, but of course please let us know if this issue persists. Now, that's just a little bit suspicious to me, seeing that it was on 2 different units, but that's just my personal paranoia coming into play. Now, the Lavalier II sounds good for a consumer lavalier, and it's got a fairly unique design and interesting accessory ecosystem, but it's just a hard line to toe for me while trying to tie this review up into a neat little ball. While I really do enjoy the sound quality of these microphones, I definitely can't give a wholehearted recommendation to go out and try them yourself due to the build issues, at least on my 2 copies. All I can say is that I don't want to give up on these guys yet. Even after the rocky start, I still think they have great potential, and I will continue to personally use these microphones, at least for my YouTube videos. I think that they're a really interesting addition to the prosumer space, but they have a little while to go before I can give anyone a full-hearted recommendation. We might have a follow-up video on these mics in a few months, but for now, I would suggest that professional users look upmarket to something like a Countryman EMW if you're looking for this kind of form factor with a bit more robust build quality and a truly professional feature set, and for users on a budget to check out some of the cheaper alternatives and explore other channels that I'll link down below. And that's about it. This has been Ben Heitrick again. And remember, this video is dedicated to Venom 2K2. None of this would have happened without a special Christmas wish from you. Thank you, everybody. Have a great rest of your year. I'm never doing another one of these stupid Lavalier reviews again. Well...